Well, hello guys. Welcome to the second video we're doing of this era, and the first F1 we're doing of this era video we're doing of this era. And I found out that doing the F1 one a little bit more complicated than doing the FPL one, but hey ho, here we are. So I suppose now is the time. We've got some time to talk about the rookies, and I want to do that at some point in the future. But I want to sort of like this is sort of looking ahead, but also saying goodbye at the same time because we've got a crazy season ahead of us. The 2026 season, there is a lot going on, and we will do a deep dive into all of that. But we've also got a new team in Audi. Audi are joining us, and that's awesome. It's great to see a factory team, a team that's willing to spend the money on Formula One, get into it. Similar to how Mercedes have really got into it after taking over the Brawn team, which was the Honda team. And seeing other teams do a similar sort of thing. We had the same, I think Toyota might have been another a good example, right? But here's the thing. When a new team, especially when they're buying out, it's very easy to forget the team that's leaving. And the team in particular that is leaving is Sauber. The Sauber F1 team is leaving after 31 years in Formula One. And here's the thing when it comes to the Sauber name. Even as an F1 fan, I only sort of know the Sauber team. Anyone can rattle off Ferrari, anyone can rattle off Mercedes, Red Bull. But Sauber has been one of those teams where you maybe don't know too much about them. I think it'd be a good time to start looking into it. Let's give first example, the name Sauber. Now, if with your knowledge of F1, and from a guess from hearing the Sauber name, what would you assume that the Sauber team is? Some might say German, it seems right, Germany with their cars, and Sauber sort of sounds like it could be a Germanic name, or maybe a roundabout, so maybe it's Austrian, for example. Well, no. Sauber, headed up by the one and only Peter Sauber, we will talk more about him in a bit, is Swiss. That might seem a little bit confusing, to be quite honest, because after all, Switzerland, let's say it's got some car laws that maybe feels like it's a car-hating country. If anyone used to watch Top Gear or the Grand Tour, it'd be known as being this car-hating country. There's rules where you cannot wash your car on a Sunday. Not for any religious reasons, but purely for noise and pollution. Although you can do it automated, apparently. After 10 PM, you're not allowed to slam your car door. As an example. So, there are sometimes rules where it makes it look like, well, Switzerland's the last place you'd expect an F1 team to come in. And that's where Peter Sauber comes in. So Peter Sauber started off on his own doing this. This is not some big business venture. We are talking on a similar level to Williams here. In the same way that Frank Williams started the Williams Formula One team, so did Peter Sauber with the Sauber team. And here's the thing. We have got a lot to owe to Sauber. We're going to talk about some other drivers later on. But here's the thing. Without Peter Sauber, we probably wouldn't have had some really important F1 drivers. Why do I say that? Why do I say that about the F1 drivers? Well, you see, I said that Sauber started in F1 in 1994, but actually, Sauber was around in motorsport for a few years before that. I think it was 1988 it started as sports cars. Don't worry about the weird editing stuff. Nothing we can do about it, basically. Don't think anyway. But yeah, they started out in sports cars. And while they started out in sports cars, they had some drivers in their roster. Almost like an academy that was going on. Would you like to see a photo of their first 3 drivers that were in their sports car categories? Here they are. Now, very few of you will know the first one. In fact, I've forgotten the name already. Some F1 nerds might recognise the second one, though. Heinz Harald Frentzen. Someone who is German, brilliant driver for the Mercedes team. But then you got the third one, also German, Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher started his motorsport career in a Sauber. Yes, it had the Mercedes Works engine and they had parts of it, but it was a Sauber team that started Michael Schumacher off. Without Sauber even being in motorsport, we might not have had these guys. And there's another legend that we might not have had if it weren't for Sauber. Let me give you a hint. About, I think it's 3 years after they first started in F1, they turned up in, at that time, quite an unusual livery. This one. Now, I think you can recognise it. The Red Bull livery. This is when Red Bull wasn't a team on their own. They were the title sponsor of Sauber. Sauber was the F1 team that got Red Bull interested in F1 in the first place. And they got the bite, yes, they were a mid-pack team, but actually it's those lesser teams that get sponsors into Formula 1 in the first place, that give them a taste and then make them go, oh, we want more. We want to pump more cash in. We want to get our own team in. Absolutely incredible stuff, right? And yes, without Sauber, we're already building up a picture. Without Sauber, we wouldn't have had Heinz Harald Frentzen, the teammate to Jacques Villeneuve when he won the title. Without Sauber, we wouldn't have had Michael Schumacher, and oh my goodness me, what would the last few years have been like? And we wouldn't have had Red Bull as a F1 sponsor, really. F1 team, potentially. There's a lot that can be owed to them. But I said we'd talk about some more F1 drivers, because there are some other ones that I think are really notable. Now, there were a lot we could have considered. Kamui Kobayashi, incredible driver. We can obviously include Nico Hulkenberg, although he's a current driver, so I want to continue to follow him and how he's doing. Felipe Massa, who started his career at Sauber before he went to Ferrari. I'm sure you guys could think of some as well. Sergio Perez, another good example. Now, yes, he's coming back after a year out and potentially was mocked at Red Bull, but he was at Red Bull for a reason. He was a brilliant driver and started off his career at Sauber. But I wanted to focus on 3 drivers in particular that I thought were of note. Now, one of them, or 2 of them, are in this picture. And you're certainly going to recognise the guy in the foreground, in Kimi Räikkönen, the Iceman. And what a driver he is. Another world champion that started off his career at Sauber. Another driver that owes quite a lot to Sauber. And yes, he did amazing when at Ferrari and at Lotus, but it all starts off with Sauber. But maybe the guy in the background there is the one who is the quintessential Sauber driver because he spent a lot of time at Sauber, both at the start and at the end of his career. He was a brilliant driver, fantastic driver. He got the nickname of Quick Nick in Nick Heidfeld. Now, he might not get a lot of plaudits. Never won a race. Did go a few podiums, but never won a race. Was never ever in contention for a world championship. But he was one of those drivers that was the quintessential 2000s Formula One driver when it was a very interesting time. Formula One during the 2000s, especially when Ferrari were dominating, was a weird time in the sense of there were a lot of fantastic drivers that weren't driving for Ferrari. And Quick Nick was one of them. Nick Heidfeld was one of them. And if Sauber would have been better, we could have been looking at Nick Heidfeld being one of those where he's not quite world champion material, but a regular race winner. Someone that you could easily see winning one race, 2 races a season. And that's nothing to be sniffed at. But whilst Nick didn't get a win, Sauber did have a driver that won. And I think he is one of their best drivers that they've ever had. One of the unluckiest drivers in Formula One as well. That being Robert Kubica. Now, some of you guys that maybe have started watching Formula One since the Drive to Survive era only know Robert Kubica through his time at Williams when he when he obviously had half a hand due to the horrific incident that he had during Rallycross. But when he was at Sauber, when he was a BMW Sauber, this guy was electric. There was a time when he was winning the World Championship in 2008. The first 5 races, I think it was, he was top of the tree. And he got that through winning. He got that through getting regular podiums. This guy was quick. Still is, actually. He's in Le Mans and still won Le Mans this year. Fantastic driver. Brilliant driver. Cannot beat it. And just was unlucky due to the incidents that he had when it came to big crashes, such as the one at Canada in 2009, 2008, one of those. But again, another driver that owes their existence to Sauber. So, here's the thing. While Sauber isn't exactly the similar sort of levels to Williams in terms of the amount of world championships, amount of wins that they have had throughout their career, it's still a solid name in Formula One. Still a name that we are losing. Peter Sauber has been one of those pioneers of Formula One. One of those guys that just helped F1 to be the sport it is today. The special sport it is today. And they might have had the reputation of being the green dustbins over the past couple of years, and even in Alfa Romeo colours, they weren't that great. Before then, they were competitive, really competitive, and a lot of drivers give a lot when it comes to Sauber because of what Sauber had given them to them. And so, whilst it is amazing that we're going to be getting Audi next year, I think it's worth just saying thank you to Peter Sauber, a guy who has been one of the cornerstones of F1 for the past 30 plus years. And whatever happens in the rest of your life, I can't imagine that the doors will ever be closed in the paddock to you, Peter. And here's hoping that Audi continue the legacy, push it further, take advantage of the foundations that Peter Sauber created. Looking forward to next season and seeing what Audi brings. But yeah, let's not forget what Sauber gave us. Sauber gave us before then. So that's just a small little tribute to Sauber leaving us this season, and maybe we'll do one on Audi at some point in the future. We are going to be doing a review of the rookies that we had this season at some point. We're also going to be doing a preview of 2026. Maybe start looking into what potentially could be one of the most nuts formula changes that there has ever been, potentially. And maybe there's some other things to talk about as well. I'd love to know your suggestions in the comments below. And feel free to like and subscribe. You know the drill. You're on YouTube long enough. You know how you all say it. So all that's left to say, guys, is thank you for your time and take care.